What's up everyone, Adam from FWCI Collector's Edition, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Marvel Legends Deadpool and Wolverine Yellow Suit Wolverine. I've been very excited for this figure. I mean, I was in the movie theater watching X-Men 1 in high school when it very first came out. I love Hugh Jackman, my fellow Aussie, the huge jacked man, if you will. So I'm very excited to see what we've got with this figure here. It's been a long time coming, decades at this point. Now make sure you subscribe, help us get to 1,000 subscribers, that's the current goal, and I will bring you more Marvel Legends reviews. I promise, you have my word. But let's get into the review, starting off with the packaging. It's your typical new style Marvel Legends packaging, that nice square shape. I really like what they've done with the new packaging. We've got a window on there, it's not windowless or anything like that. The Marvel Legends packaging has taken a bit of a step up. Maybe it looks a little bit more plain because it's just a regular box shape, but for functionality and other reasons, I think it's a great move. So my first impressions unboxed of Wolverine are the colors pop so much. That yellow and that blue, they're absolutely perfect. They look great next to Deadpool, who's in that, realistic red suit color. The new Deadpool might be a bit too bright for me, but the OG Deadpool, he looks fantastic. I love the color red that he's got right there. But let's talk about the figure, starting with the accessories. So obviously we come with two different heads, the epic masked head and the very nice new Hugh Jackman head sculpt. It's a great head sculpt. I put it on some of the other Wolverines and they all look pretty good with it. It's a pretty good fit. I think the head size is slightly smaller on the new figure, and you can kind of tell, but I don't think it's that much of a problem. Look, I think he looks pretty good. So the paintwork on this looks great. Like I said, the yellow is pretty sweet. I love the color of it. The eyes look fantastic on the mask as well. All the lines, the intricate black lines all look great. The black that's kind of in the shoulder area there, that's the butterfly joint. That looks good as well. I love the stripes on the side. I mean, they look like great Wolverine stripes, perfect from the movie. No blemishes. There's a tiny little bit of a blemish on the thigh there, but other than that, it's pretty much flawless. And the Hugh Jackman head scan is pretty amazing as well. The paint on that is fine. But the articulation for this figure is a little bit complicated. Because it's a live action character, they need to try and make the articulation and the scale and everything look fairly realistic. And maybe we've been a little bit spoiled with all the comic Wolverines that we've been getting lately, but the articulation on this is not the best. I mean, first of all, let's talk about these shoulders. Butterfly joints, they don't butterfly much at all. You got about that much. You can't really have the arms go all the way back. The arms don't go up because you've got this piece of armor here as well, which is just sort of connected to it. So, I don't know, it's got a butterfly joint, and I guess I appreciate that, but I really wish that we got a lot more range out of that. The other complaint that I have is with the head, there is no neck hinge on there. I feel like with Wolverine, that has to be you need to go ahead with that, because you're always going to want him in that crouched down, pose where he's like looking up, but you can't really get his head up much more. He just sort of looks down at the ground. Now the legs are interesting. The knees are actually quite sort of like loose in a way. They stick when you get them in the right place, but they're very easy to maneuver about. It's very difficult to get him in like a slightly sort of crouched down pose. Maybe lean him forward a little bit or something. I don't know if that's going to help. Can we do it? Alright, we managed to get him in a bit of a crouch down pose, but as you can see, it's definitely not ideal. It doesn't look the most natural, and the articulation really doesn't lend itself to that kind of posing. So, a little bit disappointed with how the articulation for this went in the end, but I guess we got to, keep in mind that this is an MCU figure, for lack of a better term, and the MCU figures, they've been very hit and miss for, a variety of different reasons, and while I think this figure is great, it suffers from the way that Hasbro, recreates these real-life characters into action figures. Sometimes, you can't have everything that you might want, and I feel like this Wolverine suffers from that. But because it's the 50th anniversary of Wolverine, let's check in on Claw Watch.
But I've got these.
Yes,
Very impressive.
So I do have something to say about these. These claws are... It makes his hands look very, very small, but these claws, they kind of go parallel with each other, which is not that ideal. When you look at the previous movie Wolverine claws, you can see that they kind of flare out a little bit, and it just makes his hand look maybe a little bit bigger, a little bit more threatening. These look to be quite like nimble claws almost. They feel a little bit skinny. Hands feel a little bit small, the arms feel a little bit small. There is something, you know, kind of off about the dimensions of this Wolverine, but to me, it's not so bad to the point where it makes the figure, you know, not enjoyable or something that I don't want to buy. But that's why I'm doing a review for you, so you can have this information before you try and track this down. And from what I can tell, it's been pretty difficult trying to get this Wolverine at the moment. I got very lucky. I walked in the store, they had a big pile of Marvel Legends that they were about to put on the shelf, and I snapped him up. So Hugh Jackman's movie resume is an illustrious one. He's done many, many things throughout the scope of cinema over the years, but one thing he's never done is a Quentin Tarantino movie, so we're gonna put him through the Tarantino test.
Tarantino test.
Yes, this is the part of the video where I talk about the feat of the action figure in particular and talk about whether or not it's a good figure for posing based on the feet, because I think that's the foundation and one of the most important parts of action figure posing. And this figure, as I mentioned, he's not great for posing. The feet are okay. Quentin gives it a very casual thumbs up, like yeah, your feet are fine, but leave me alone. Because the rest of the articulation kind of lets it down, and you know, they're the MCU feet, so they're a little bit smaller than the comic ones. They're not the best for posing, but for this particular figure, they do the job. It's a bit of a thumbs up, but the articulation of this figure overall, there's something weird about it. He's kind of like heavy in the back. I don't know why, but he seems to be quite heavy and he tips over backwards more often than anything else. I cannot figure out what the problem is. But Wolverine, you pass the Tarantino test. So here's how he looks with one of the previous Hugh Jackman Wolverine heads. You know, it doesn't look too bad. It seems a little bit big and it doesn't sit on perfectly. You might need to put a little bit of blue tack inside the peg hole to make it stay, you know, stationary. But as far as that looks, it looks okay. This head scan, on the other hand, I think looks absolutely awesome. That is the Screaming one that I got with the re-release of the white singlet Wolverine. But again, it's a little bit big and it's a little bit loose kind of thing. Like it's you know, spins around very easy, but if you pull it up onto the peg a little bit more, you know, it should stay fairly good for you. But that is a fantastic looking Hugh Jackman Wolverine right there. So my final thoughts on this figure are that it looks great as if you can get it in a pose that you're happy with and you've got the other pieces to put around it to sort of complete that collection, then it's great. And even if you're just looking for you know, much better looking Hugh Jackman head scan, I recommend this figure 100% if you can get it. It seems to be very difficult to get hands on. Is it shelf worthy? Yeah, I love this movie so much. I had an absolute blast watching it. I will be putting him with Deadpool. We need an unmasked Deadpool. I wonder if Hasbro are just like, sorry, we're not doing it. But these two will definitely find their place on the shelf in my house, and I couldn't be happier because, yeah, it was a huge moment when they did that movie, and I'm glad that Hasbro managed to get this figure out nice and early, as flawed as it may be. But let me know in the comments what you thought about this one. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers if I'm not there, and I will bring you more Marvel Legends reactions as the years go on. And as always, everyone, be well, stay safe, look after your figs, ta-ta, and farewell.